Hi everyone, it's Hannah from Hand Jam Crochet, and today we are making these super cute mini crochet stockings together. Now, if you've been following me recently, you'll see that I have some large versions, some actual proper size stockings of these, and they've been so popular that I was like, I know what I'll do. I'll make mini versions of them. So I'll put a link in the description for the larger version as well. But in the description below, you'll find where you can source the pattern, whether that be in PDF form in my store or whether that be on the blog. And there are 5 different designs, just like the larger stockings. There are 5 different mosaic designs for these teeny stockings, and they take absolutely no time at all, and they hardly use any yarn either. So I'm going to be making one of these on camera with you, and I'm going to be showing you how it uses this overlay mosaic crochet technique, and how once you get the hang of it and follow the pattern, you can make any or all of the versions that you like. Now these are awesome for hanging on the tree as decorations. You can make them into a garland, and you can even use them as like place cards. So I'll add an image once I've done them of, you can put your cutlery in them and put them on your plate. I think they're really versatile and just really, really cute. You could even turn them into an advent calendar. So please do let me know what you decide to do with yours. So to make these little stockings, I am using Mellow Spun DK, which is this solid colour that we have here. This is 100% acrylic from Mary Maxim, and I have paired it with this gradient yarn that we have here, which is Prism DK, which is absolutely beautiful. It's also 100% acrylic, and it's really nice and easy to work with. And I am aiming, I think I will manage it, to make all 5 of the tiny stockings out of one ball of each of these. So you really don't need to use much yarn at all for them. In the description below, you'll find all of the details of the yarn and the colours that I've used, the quantities that you'll need, and also the other materials that you will need. So we're going to need a 4mm G crochet hook, or the hook that meets the gauge, but don't really tell anyone, but it's not that essential for this project. Then we'll also need a pair of scissors, a needle for your ends, and a stitch marker will be super helpful too. So go grab your supplies, find the pattern, which you will need. This tutorial will teach you how to do all of the steps, but obviously in order to make each of the different stockings, you'll need to actually find the written pattern either on my blog or in the PDF. So to start our toe off, I am going to, for whichever version you're making, make a magic ring. So I do mine by yarning over my fingers twice, scooping that first one through, twist, and then we have our magic ring. So I'm going to chain 1, but there are lots of ways of making a magic ring, so you do whatever suits you best there. And then into that, I'm going to work 8 single crochet stitches. So 1, 2, that's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. And then when you're ready to, you can just tug on that end there, and that will pull that down nicely for you. And our next round, round 2, is going to be an increase round. And the way that we do that is we're going to work 2 single crochet into each of the stitches around. So we're not going to join, we're not going to slip stitch here or anything. We're going to work in continuous rounds now. So what I'm going to do is go to that first stitch that we have there and work 1 and 2 single crochet. And this is the point where, if you like using them, pop a stitch marker in to your first stitch so you don't lose track. Then the rest of that round, we just carry on working 2 single crochet in each of the stitches. And that brings us up from 8 stitches to 16 stitches now. Now round 3, we're going to pop the stitch marker out, and we're not going to increase on round 3. We're just going to work a single crochet in each of the stitches. So our stitch count will remain the same at 16, but make sure to move that stitch marker when you're ready, just so you don't lose count. I mean, I know we're not doing many rounds here for this toe, but it is still very easy to lose your place, she says from experience. So just a single crochet in each of those stitches around, keeping your stitch count at 16 here. And there we have 16 stitches at the end of round 3. So for round 4, we're ready to increase again. And the way that we're going to do that is we're going to begin by working 2 single crochet in that first stitch. And then we're going to work just 1 single crochet in the next. So move that stitch marker ready, pop that in your first stitch of the round. And then we continue in that way. We're going to work 2 single crochet in the next, and then 1 single crochet in the next, all the way around, and that will increase our stitch count from 16 up to 24. And that's round 4 complete. Now for round 5, we are going to continue to work in continuous rounds, but we're actually going to now start working in the back loop only of each of the stitches around. So as your stitch faces you, you're going to, the top of the stitch, you're going to see that you've got 2 loops that you've got there. This one here is the front loop, and then this one here is the back loop. So we're now going to just aim for this back loop, that we have here. And we're just going to work a single crochet in each back loop. So we're not increasing for this round. We're going to move our stitch marker. You're not going to increase, so your stitch count will stay at 24 for this round. So here we are back at the start, at the end of round 5. And we're going to take the stitch marker out and we're going to grab yarn B, because we now need that to start working, because this is the toe all done now. We now need to start working the foot part. So let's grab yarn B. And we are now going to start to slip stitch at the end of each round, or into the first stitch of the round. And I'm going to do that into the back loop only of this first stitch here with our new colour of yarn. So slip stitch into that and tug tight. So we're ready then to start working our mosaic section. Now we're going to chain 1 to get ourselves going. And you'll see in the written pattern or in the chart, if you're using it from the PDF, that there are no mosaic stitches in this first round for the knot stocking that we're using. So all we need to know is when we're using this overlay mosaic technique, the only 2 choices of stitches that we have are a single crochet in the back loop only, or a mosaic double crochet stitch. And when we get to do one of those, which is on the next round, I'll show you how to do those. They're incredibly easy. But for this round, we're just going to work a single crochet in the back loop only of each of the stitches around. So our stitch count now will remain at 24 all the way through the rest of the stocking. So just work a single crochet in the back loop only all the way around. So here we are at the end of that round, and what we now need to do is to switch our yarn colour. So for the mosaic section, every single end of a round we switch over to the other colour. So we're going to go into the back loop only of that first stitch, and we're going to get our new yarn and pull it through. Then we just need to tug on the long end of that one that we've been working with. And for our yarn A that we've got now, our second round of this mosaic section, we need to start by working a mosaic double crochet in the first stitch. So we set ourselves up with a chain 1, and then what we need to do is we yarn over ready to work a regular double crochet stitch. But instead of working it into the round that we have immediately below, we're actually going to work it into 2 rounds below. So you're going to drop down into the front loop that we have sitting here, which is why we're working into the back loop only all the time, so that we can leave those front loops available. We're going to the front loop there of the corresponding stitch 2 rounds below, and then we just work a double crochet stitch there, and that, by the fact that we've gone 2 rounds down, makes it into a mosaic double crochet stitch. So there's nothing fancy here, nothing terribly complicated. You just need to follow either the written pattern or the chart that tells you when to do those stitches. And the rest of the stitches, if they don't say mosaic double crochet stitch, are going to be, like we've said before, a single crochet in the back loop only. So the pattern tells me I need to single crochet in the back loop of 3 stitches. So there we have it. And then that's our pattern repeat all the way around now. We're going to work a mosaic double crochet in the next stitch, but it's not this stitch because that's colour B and that's the round below. We're actually going into 2 rounds below, which is this stitch here. So we go into there, oops, we go into this one, and then we single crochet in the back loop of the next 3. That's all there is to it. And if you're making one of the other versions of the stocking, then all you need to do is apply these principles to the one that you're making. Follow the pattern. Wherever it says a single crochet, you do it in the back loop only, and wherever it says a mosaic double crochet, you do it in the front loop of 2 rounds below. So carry on working this round. So then at the end of that round, we're going to switch our colours again. We're going into the back loop of that first stitch there. You grab your yarn B and you yarn over and pull through, and then we're going to tug tightly down on yarn A, and then we chain 1 and we're ready to go again. Now the next round for this version, for the knot stocking, we need to single crochet in the back loop of the first stitch, and then we mosaic double crochet in the next stitch. So we have not this one here because that's the round below, but 2 rounds below, which is actually in the same yarn. So if you're ever in doubt, just make sure you always go down to the same yarn, and then we just carry on like that. We're going to single crochet in the back loop of the next, and then mosaic double crochet 2 rounds below. That's all there is to it for that round. So work around, popping those stitches where you need them. And now here we are back at the start again. So we're going to slip stitch into the back loop only of that first stitch and change our yarn colour. Now for our next round on this version is actually a repeat of round 2. So we're going to chain 1, and then we're going to work a mosaic double crochet in the first, so dropping down 2 rounds below, making sure that we work into that same yarn colour again, and then we just single crochet in the back loop of 3. Then we're ready to mosaic double crochet in the next, and then single crochet in the back loop of 3. So repeat that all the way around, and that, dare I say it, is absolutely everything that you need to know for whichever version that you are making. So now what we need to do is carry on working for 9 rounds of mosaic double crochet, which gives us the foot part that we have here. And then what we'll need to do is we'll need to make a space for the heel to go in that we will add afterwards. It's called an afterthought heel. So work those 9 rounds that we need for whichever version you're making, and then meet me back and I'll show you how we split for the heel here, and then how we work the leg, the cuff, and then pop the heel on. Right, so I have worked those 9 rounds of overlay mosaic here, and you can start to see the pattern really coming through now. And what we now need to do, I've switched over to my yarn A, ready to work the next round. And we need to make this space for the heel, and we're going to need to make 8 stitches for that space, and we're going to work that in foundation single crochet stitches. So to start, we're going to chain 2, and then into that first chain that we made, we're going to go into the back bump, and we're going to yarn over, and we're going to pull through, and then we're going to yarn over and we're going to pull through just 1, and that's going to make us a chain that we will need for the next stitch. So then we yarn over and we pull through 2, and that creates the first foundation single crochet that we need. And you can still see there's that chain that we made before we did that stitch, and that chain is now what we're going to go into to work the next one. So go into that chain, and you're going to make sure that both parts of the stitch are across your hook there. So we've got 2 loops over there. We're going to yarn over and we're going to pull through, and then you just repeat. You're going to yarn over and pull through just 1 to make the chain for the next one. You can see it quite nicely sat there, and then you're going to yarn over and pull through 2, and that makes your second foundation single crochet. So we need to do 8 of those. Once you've made your 8, we're now going to skip 8 stitches here to make that open space that we need for the heel. So that's our first stitch that we're actually attached to. We've got then 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 and 8, and then we go right into the pattern because we're going to begin with a mosaic double crochet stitch now, because in the written pattern or in the chart it tells us that the next stitch along we've got to do that mosaic double crochet. And now hopefully it will sit straight for me. There we go. And then we need to work a single crochet in the back loop of the next 3. So we have 1, 2 and 3. Then we mosaic double crochet in the next, and then we single crochet in the back loop of 3. So you carry on repeating that around, or repeat obviously for whichever version that you are making, until we get back to those foundation single crochet stitches that we started with. And now we're back at the start, and what we're going to do is we're going to just carry on working into these stitches. We're going to slip stitch into the back loop of that first one and switch our yarn colour. Then you'll tug on this one here on your yarn A, and then all we need to do is follow the pattern, which actually for this version doesn't have any mosaic double crochets in this round. We're just going to work a single crochet in the back loop only of each of them. But if you are working a version that does have a mosaic double crochet in these particular stitches across these 8 here, I'm going to show you what you'll need to do. Now obviously we would normally, if you imagine you were doing a mosaic double crochet in the next stitch, now we would normally be going down to these stitches that we have here, but we need the space for the heel. So the magic of this foundation single crochet is that here's got lots of loops for us to use. So we've got the back loop there, we've got the front loop here, we've got this extra loop here of your chain, and then the bottom loop right down here. So what I would suggest is that we go down into not the back loop or the front loop, but the next loop that we have. So just work a mosaic double crochet if the pattern tells you to in these 8 stitches just into there, and that will get us set for the rest of the pattern as it works up the leg. But the version that I'm doing doesn't need to do that. So you're going to just work a single crochet in the back loop only of each of the stitches around. Here we are back to the start, and we're going to do just what we did with the foot section. We're going to slip stitch into the back loop of that first stitch, change our yarn colour, pull tight, and then off we go. So our first stitch here after we've chained 1 is a mosaic double crochet. So now we do have these front loops of 2 rounds below ready to work into. So you just find that front loop there of 2 rounds below and work the mosaic double crochet if you need it for the version that you're making. And then we need to single crochet in the back loop of 3. And then we need to mosaic double crochet in the next stitch. So that's all the way down to that stitch there. And then you just carry on working around in this way, and indeed you just carry on working up until you've completed round 20 of this mosaic section. All of the stockings have the same number of rounds and the same number of stitches. You're just going to be putting your single crochets and your mosaic double crochets in different orders. That's all there is to it. So if you can make this one, you can make any of them. And indeed, if you can make this one, which is the most straightforward of them because it's just 2 stitch repeat all the way around, then you can make any of them as well. So go ahead and work up to the end of round 20 of your mosaic section here, and that will complete the leg. And then come back to me and we'll work the cuff together. So I've now worked all of the 20 rounds of the mosaic section, and I'm going to carry on now in this yarn A because we're ready to start the cuff. And to begin that, I'm going to slip stitch into the full part of that first stitch, and then once I've done that, I'm now ready to break yarn B. So you can snip that with your scissors, and now we are good to go for the cuff. Now the cuff is worked in a join as you go method, so we're going to go back and forth in rows, joining as we go around to this last round that we have here. Now, it always sounds complicated, isn't it, when you say stuff in words? So let me show you how that actually works. So to begin with, we're going to chain 13, although you can chain what you like actually, because this can then sort of change the length of your cuff as you would like it to be. But just bear in mind that it will be doubled over. We will turn it over at the end. So go twice as long as you want your cuff to be. And then once you've got those chains ready, you are going to start working back along them in the second chain from the hook. So I'm going to go into the back bumps here, and I'm going to work a single crochet into the back bump of each of them from the second chain from the hook, sorry. And then I've got 13 that I started with here, so that's going to take me down to 12 stitches for my cuff. So here we are back at the cuff there, and what I'm going to do now is I'm going to slip stitch into the next stitch of the final round. I'm just going to slip stitch into one this time, just that first time, and then we're going to turn because we now need to work back along these 12 stitches, and we're going to work a single crochet in the back loop only of each of these. So the stitch count will stay the same for the whole of your cuff now. And for the final stitch of each of these rows here, you can either go into the back loop or you can go into the full part of the stitch, whichever you prefer. And then you're ready to turn. It's determined to flip itself around, isn't it, this thing? There we go, we turned and we're going to chain one, and then we're going to work a single crochet in the back loop of each, all the way down till we meet the final round again. So here we are. And now what we need to do, and each time that we get back to it now, we're going to slip stitch in 2 stitches. So that's 1 and then 2. And then you're going to turn and you're going to work back along these 12 stitches with a single crochet in the back loop only. And that's all there is to it for the cuff. You do 12 stitches, single crochet back loop only, and then each time you get back down to that final round, you're going to slip stitch into the next 2 stitches, and that just moves you further along and it creates the cuff, and it works all the way around this final round, coming back until you meet back here. So work away and get yourself to this point, and then meet me back here and I'll show you just how we join that cuff together. Okie dokie, I have done all of those rows of the cuff now, and we're just ready to slip stitch these together. So I've got my final row that I've made here, and this is the very first row that we have here. And so what we're going to do is we're going to find the first loop of this stitch that we have here, the first stitch, and we're going to match it up with the first stitch here. And then you're just going to wiggle your hook in, and then you'll join that with a slip stitch, and then our second stitch matches up to our second stitch, and we slip stitch through there. Gosh, that's a lot of our third stitch and our third, and then we slip stitch through, and just work your way down this seam, joining as you go until you've run out of stitches basically. And then we can just break our yarn here, pull that through, and then we're going to weave in our end there, but I'll just show you what it looks like. We turn our cuff over and we are almost done. We just now need to add our heel in, which is just a couple of rounds, and then we're finished. So to add the heel in to this stocking, we're just going to work into this space that we have here. So we had 8 stitches here and 8 stitches here. So we have 16 stitches to work into. And what I'm going to recommend is we turn over so that this is where the mosaic crochet joins for each round. And it's not really obvious, but I think it's best off if you add your join for your heel in this part here. So it will be at the back of the stocking. So pop your hook into that first stitch that we have there. Grab your yarn, whichever colour you want to use for the heel, and then we're going to join here in that very first stitch. I'm going to chain 1 just to get going, and then over the first 2 stitches we are going to single crochet 2 together. So the stitch we're in there, we're going to yarn over and pull through, and then in the next stitch we're going to pop through, yarn over and pull through. So now we've got 3 loops on our hook, and we're going to pull through all 3 of those, and that's just reduced our count there. and then we're going to single crochet into the full part of the stitch in the next 6 stitches. When we've done those 6, we just need to rotate round because now we have another 8 stitches to work, and we're going to repeat what we've just done. So we're going to single crochet 2 together over the next 2 stitches, and these are going to be the foundation single crochets that we made. So there we are, single crochet 2 together there, and then we're going to single crochet in the next 6. And that will have used up all the stitches that you have for that round. Now, just like we did for the toe, we're going to carry on working in continuous rounds here. And so the next round is really similar. We're going to single crochet 2 together. So there's 1 and 2 together there. And then we're going to single crochet in 5. Now it gets fiddlier and fiddlier because it gets smaller and smaller, but just stick with it and just keep yourself counted. So it's 2, 3, 4 and 5, and then we just repeat that around. We're going to single crochet 2 together, and then we're going to single crochet in 5. Then when you've done those 5, we're on to our final round, and that is going to be a single crochet 2 together just all the way around. So we work 1, there's going to be a total of 6 to do here, and 2. Now you can use a stitch marker for these rounds, but I find the inning and outing of them just more hassle than they're worth. So the count's not very high, but if you think you're going to lose track and you'd like to use a stitch marker, then please do. And the last one we'll just sneak in here. There is 6. So now we're going to break our yarn. I'm going to just slip stitch into that first stitch to join, and then we just need to grab our needle and thread our yarn onto it, and then you can just close around that last round that we have there. So just thread it round gently, and then you'll be able to tug tight and close that final round. Now your stockings don't really need blocking, but if you feel that they do, then you can kind of just stuff them either with a piece of card, or you can pin them out like this and damp block them. It's entirely up to you. But then you are ready to add any embellishments that you like. You can add a twine, a ribbon, you can add a tag, you can add anything you like to them, and you can then, as I say, turn them into a garland or use them as a hanging decoration for the tree, or as a place setting as well. There's so many things you can do with them. I really hope you've enjoyed making this with me. I cannot wait to see your versions, see what you do with them and where you decorate with them. Do come and find me. I'm Hand Down Crochet all over social media. Wherever you would expect me to be, you can find me there. And I will see you again soon.